So now let's talk about the third part of the advanced assignment, where you need to create these four charts and organize them into a single worksheet called the dashboard. Now, these charts don't need to be really big. They just need to be like, you know, 1/4 of the screen size so that all four of them can show up on the screen at once. And I'm gonna walk you through how to create the first chart. The most efficient way to do this would actually be to build pivot charts. Now, pivot charts are also based on pivot tables. So, the reason we need pivot charts is, as you can see, these are actually summaries of our data, which is on the Q4 TRIPS worksheet. So, for example, we'd like the total amounts spent on business trips for training, total amounts spent on business trips for trade shows, and so on. So, this is actually data that's in our Q4 trips, except on Q4 trips, it's in detail form. You know, we don't have the summary. So whenever you need to summarize a list of data in this format, pivot tables and pivot charts are your best bet. So let's go ahead and build the first chart, which is total amount spent on trips by reason. All right, so let's go back here. Okay, so this is reason, okay, over here. And again, I've already created this new column here, total amount, which simply adds up all the expenses for each trip. So I have all the data I need to build my pivot table, and after that I'm going to build a pivot chart based on that pivot table. So I'm going to go insert pivot table. Okay, again, I've already clicked in my data source, so this has been filled in, and I go to a new worksheet. Okay, so I just need to have reason. So I click reason, okay, and then all the reasons show up here on the row label. And then I need the total amount spent, which is this column. So now I have all the data I need. Okay, I'm going to format it here, even though I'm not going to be showing this. Okay, so this is all the data I need, but I want to show it in the form of a bar chart. So I'm going to select my data here. So I'm going to select all the labels and all the data corresponding to each label. And then up here, I'm going to say insert. And then I'm going to pick the bar chart, which is here. Okay, I'd like the two-dimensional bar chart. Okay, so the 2D clustered bar. And I'm going to move it so it covers my pivot table. And as you can see, this is a pivot chart. It's different from a regular chart because up here, over here, I mean, you can still filter it out. So if I just wanted to see, you know, expenses for sales presentations and seminars, I can just choose these two, and then the chart will filter out what I don't want to see. And as you can see, there are some things we can improve here, like so if I go ahead and bring back all the data up here, okay, we can unclutter the chart, for example, by removing the legend, because we don't really need the legend here. We only have one data series. And up here in the title, we can just say, let me switch back here, trip expenses by reason. And since it's a little hard to read the data when it's down here, I'm just going to click on the axis down here and I'm going to press delete. Instead, I'm going to display the numbers next to the bar. So I'm going to right click on the data bar, add data labels, add data labels. Okay, so they show up here, and I think that's easier to read. And then, all right, so over here, I've got the button showing me what data is appearing right now, and also I've got the filter, but I don't need them anymore. So over here, under Analyze, you can see here we've got buttons, field buttons, and you can uncheck which buttons you do not want to see. So I'm just going to say hide all, okay, and that will hide all of my buttons. Okay, but this is still a pivot chart. I could still switch them back on if I wanted to. Okay, so I'm just gonna say hide all for now. So this is my pivot chart, and I'm going to resize it. Okay. And at this point, I can copy this to another worksheet. So I'm going to right click and copy, because later on I want to consolidate it with those other three charts that I'm supposed to create. So I'm going to click the plus sign here. So I create a new one. I'm going to call it dashboard. All right. And I'm going to right click and paste. So here's my first chart, and I can resize it. Okay. Now I still need to keep the pivot table over here. Pivot table still here. It's just that I also have a copy of this chart over here. And now I can go ahead and create the other three charts and using the same technique and copy them over here. And so that gives you an idea how to build this dashboard.